Hey there, TV3 folks. Today I'm starting up a new segment where I'm finding local filmmakers from either the DL area or the Fargo Moorhead area or just Minnesota as a whole and bringing them in and giving them a chance to showcase their work. And today I've got Jack Kluth and Bradley Schultz with me, two filmmakers from Fargo. We're going to talk about their film Cage today. So Caged is about two film students who have this final project due in a week, but they haven't even started on it yet. They've been slacking off, not working, and they're about to fail their class. And to save their grade, they decide to try to get a famous actor in one of their projects, and they decide to try to hire Nicolas Cage for their movie.
It's got to be something big, something that everyone remembers. I'm thinking Nolan meets Lynchian.
Lynch is too divisive, bro. We need something that everybody's gonna like.
How the hell are we supposed to make a movie that everybody likes?
I don't know. What if you guys got a famous actor in your film? Someone that everyone likes, that way they...
Hold up. What if we got a famous actor in our project? Somebody that everyone likes.
So just to start it off, what would be your top 5 Cage movies?
Ooh, that's tough.
I've been waiting for this question my whole life, probably.
We really like Mandy. That was a big one for us because just how over the top crazy he goes. He's killing people left and right, snapping necks and screaming. It's kind of everything you want in a Nick Cage performance and more.
I love Adaptation by Charlie Kaufman, which came out. Yeah, he plays 2 characters in that movie and he's interacting with himself. It's really insane. Vampire's Kiss is probably one of the most iconic.
How could somebody misfile something? What could be easier? It's all alphabetical. You just put it in the right file, according to alphabetical order. You know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do!
It's hard to go a year without there being some sort of Nicolas Cage project to get excited about.
Yeah, he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Even in bad movies, he just makes it entertaining to watch.
He makes it worth the whole experience, yeah.
So this movie, one thing is that I noticed that it references a lot of movies. So what movies would be like, it would inspire your style as filmmakers?
We liked to take a lot from some early Edgar Wright films, stuff like Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim. We really liked the quick cut editing style that he has and the really snappy humor.
Kind of high energy. Some other stuff is like Clerks by Kevin Smith. That was a big inspiration.
Yeah, trying to get that slacker comedy feel was a big thing for us.
Absolutely.
A huge inspiration for us was from TV, actually. It was the show Breaking Bad. That was a huge inspiration for our cinematography choices, and I think Breaking Bad has some nice parallels to Cage, where it's some characters that are in totally over their heads, cooking meth, killing people, doing whatever they need to do.
Good Time with Robert Pattinson was a little bit of the inspiration that we took, kind of in the way where his character keeps trying to fix a situation and keeps digging a bigger hole for himself and making it worse and worse and worse. That's a little bit what our 2 characters kind of go through in this film that we made as well.
The Safdie brothers are really great at creating this character that every turn he makes, he's making the wrong decision, and that was something we kind of wanted to emulate with James and Barry. They're just they're victims of their own lifestyles, and now it's time to kick it into high gear.
How did you come up with the visual style? Like at one point in the movie, I noticed there's like a split screen. I think it's when they're about to face the wrath of Cage.
Payment is due in full on the first day of the shoot. Non-compliance with the stipulated payment deadline will result in the full legal wrath of Nicolas Cage.
Oh.
Kind of trying to, with the writing, obviously we're trying to keep it funny and energetic with the dialogue, but I think that also, it's really important that the way we make the movie reflects that as well. So having, different editing choices like that split screen where they kind of come in at the same time. I think it helps keep the comedic tone going and kind of helps keep you engaged. When you look at a one shot for a minute and it doesn't break, your eyes start to wander and you get a little bit bored. But when it's constantly, the frame is moving, the editing is fast, it helps keep you engaged with what you're watching, I think. So that was something that was important to us.
I've always been a really big comic book fan, and one thing I like is how they're able to divide the space and put in a bunch of different pieces of visual information. And I thought it was a fun opportunity just to slash the screen in half and have them slide in. We really enjoy that flashy editing style.
Yeah, another movie, which it sounds weird to say, but we did take some inspiration from it, Requiem for a Dream. It's so dark, but specifically the way they choose to shoot like drug use, like really close-up, quick shots, we really liked that, and so we tried to do a little bit of that. And Requiem for a Dream also has split screen in it as well, where like one character will be in a room and another character will be in another room, but you're seeing both of their reactions at the same time. Yeah, some of those filmmaking techniques really inspired us.
Yeah, I saw that movie when I was 12, I think.
Oh no, that's too young.
But it didn't traumatize me much because I didn't even know what was happening. I didn't get any of it, so it was just...
It's for the best. Gosh, yeah.
I think it'd scare me more now, honestly.
Yeah. It's brutal.
That movie's tough. But yeah, we really liked the distinct visual style that Aronofsky brought to that one, and we wanted to emulate some of that.
How did you go about getting the props in the movie, from like the meth or the mask or all that stuff? How did that all come about?
That's a good question. A lot of the props that we used in the film were things that we've kind of built up in our collection over the years. We've been making short films just in our own time for a while now, so I've just got a big box of prop guns in my closet, all that kind of stuff that allows us to make fun, crazy stories.
Some of it was homemade, like our wonderful producer helped make the mask for us a little bit. The fake meth was rock candy we bought from a candy store. Oh man.
If you didn't tell me that, I'd be a little worried there when you just ate some.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and then some of the masks, we wanted to find like the monkey mask. Obviously we couldn't make that ourselves, so we wanted to find something a little cheap looking because it would fit what the characters are kind of, what they have. Obviously they don't have any money. That's kind of the conflict of the film. So they didn't really have a whole lot to go out and buy something really, high tech. And so they kind of end up using what they have. Yeah. We wanted the props to kind of reflect that a little bit.
Makes sense. And yeah, the monkey mask just makes them look like more of a couple idiots, totally unprepared for what they're doing.
So how'd you go about getting the Electric Underground, that location in the movie?
That was actually all thanks to our awesome producer, Vita Ghost. They helped get us a lot of the locations that we used in the film. Electric Underground, the meth lab underground in Parachigo. That's a rock music venue in town that we rented out. But it's a lot easier than you would think. People are kind enough to let us come in and film and collaborate with us. It was a great experience.
We've both been shopping at Electric Underground for quite a while. Ever since we moved up here to go to college, one of the first things I did was okay, what are some cool used media stores? So I've been in Electric Underground a lot, and I have a slight rep with the people that work there. We know each other, so it wasn't too weird of a thing to reach out and ask them, and it was surprisingly easy. They did not. Because we were going to need to bring a prop gun into the store, and we need to get someone behind the register, and any things that we thought might have been an issue for them, they totally were fine with us doing. It was a really great shoot day when we had to shoot at Electric Underground.
Yeah, they were super, super inviting. One of their guys, Cody, came and hung out with us while we shot and made sure everything went smoothly, so shout out to Cody. And yeah, thank you, Electric Underground.
Yeah, when I first moved up here, I went there, and there aren't a lot of places like that anymore, which I think is sad, and that's such a cool place.
I really love it.
We were just there the other day, literally yesterday, I think. We were buying movies, Yeah, we still go there quite frequently.
Dude, they would have to pay me to sit through this entire thing again.
I can't believe they have the balls to release an extended version of that crap.
Actually, The extended edition fixes a lot of the issues with the theatrical cut, so maybe you guys should actually watch it before you start talking.
Actually, I've only seen the extended version and it still sucked the nut. Sorry man, we're just not big Zack Snyder guys.
You two wish you had half the talent Zachary has. I see you two in here all the time walking around with your Scorsese this.
Actually, Scorsese.
And your Christopher Nolan that. How about you two hacks watch something good like Free Guy?
So was that whole like argument with the Batman versus Superman thing, was that inspired by like a real argument you've had with a stranger?
More so just like a series of a lifetime of interactions with Snyder fans or just people with different tastes in general. I think one of the things we wanted to get at with Cage was the hostility that can build between people when you have something as simple as differing movie tastes. I mean, they literally end up shooting him because he likes Free Guy. So yeah, I think that was kind of a interesting way for Jack and myself to investigate like how we look at things. You know, we're big movie guys, and one of the first things we'll probably talk about when we meet people is movies, and that's how you get the vibe check. Yeah. So
yeah. And like kind of, especially with the Snyder stuff, it comes from seeing like online discourse about it for years and years. I don't think either of us have really had a super like weird interaction with the Snyder fan in real life, but like online, it's like it's a battlefield out there. Yeah,
Twitter's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, kind of picking up on some of those discussions that go on in the film community a little bit. Yeah, Snyder is a pretty easy one to kind of talk about because there's a lot of discourse.
Yeah, he's one of the most talked about directors, you know, working today, and I feel like him being mentioned in the movie almost makes it seem like we've got a little bit more of a target on his back than anything. I think he's a pretty good filmmaker, actually. I like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, he's got a cool style, absolutely. I just can't be bothered to sit through Batman versus Superman again.
Never again.
But I'd watch 300 or
300's sick. Watchmen is cool. So yeah, sorry about the digs, Zach.
So there was that shot when they were running out of the electric underground. Was that like the camera was strapped on a car, or like was that just out of a window?
I was sitting in the back hatch of his car, actually, just sitting with the camera rig, crisscross applesauce.
It was way less glamorous than the shot might end up looking. Yeah, we just opened the trunk and I drove really quickly down the parking lot.
Yeah, and you know, it's sometimes the simplest techniques are the best ones.
You didn't need a crane. You made it work with just a car.
Don't need a crane. Don't need motion control. Just need a guy with shaky hands and a guy with a car. Yeah, that was probably my favorite shot in the movie to film, just because of I don't know, just how fast we were moving and everything. It was pretty crazy. It's money shot.
So what camera did you shoot it on?
We ended up using iPhone, surprisingly, for a decent amount of the shots. I've got like a Canon Rebel DSLR, which is okay, and some of the shots that we used that camera, especially with like the close-ups, the long-distance lens. That helped a lot. But in like lower lighting situations, the iPhone was a lot. Because when you show up to the shoot day and there's all these things you got to wrangle, and obviously we'd done like, you know, some test shots before we'd gotten to set, but we found that the iPhone was the quickest at really like balancing out the light and the color to a reasonable level where it looked okay, and then we could edit the rest in post. But and we had tried to get equipment through the school as well, and we had some success with that, but honestly, a lot of people in our class didn't end up using the equipment that the school had.
We checked out an old Panasonic at first, and we got to our first shoot day and looked through it, and we were just instantly not happy with how it looked.
Was that one of those? Was that like a camcorder Panasonic, or was that a?
Yeah.
Was it
big
like a
chunky one.
CX350 or something like that?
I think it might have been.
Because in my film school, that's what we used too.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was really big, really bulky, and if we'd had a little more time with it, we probably could have made it work for what we needed. But the iPhones, they were small, really portable. We got some extra space in the iCloud, and it ended up working out pretty decently for what we needed. yeah, it kind of came through. We both have like iPhone 14s, I believe, so the cameras on there are pretty decent at this point.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound cheesy, but it's kind of inspiring how low the barrier for entry is when it comes to filmmaking. I mean, everyone's got a 4K camera in their pocket at all times, pretty much these days. It's really just about taking the time to set it up and hit record.
Yeah. And there are drawbacks, like with the iPhone, it's kind of, you can't like, there's not like different lenses you can throw on or anything. You're kind of set with what you got. So there were times where we were like, you know, it'd be really nice if we could be, you know, like slowly turning a lens to get a slower zoom kind of thing, but we had to work with what we got. But in the end, I think the iPhones.
There were a good amount of zooms in the movie, and they looked pretty like slow and smooth.
Oh,
and you just did that on the phone?
Sometimes we did it on the phone. Sometimes it was digital, just a very slight 10% zoom in. Yeah.
Yeah, you had some really good camera work in there as well. You've got some really nice tracking in shots, and
Thank you.
That's all him. I have very shaky hands.
Yeah, you have a gimbal that's like pretty decent. And so we were able to get a fairly decent looking rig to move around, but it's just an iPhone that's, you know, clamped onto the top there. So we were able to get some nice movement with that.
So that shot with the camera under the table, how'd you get that? Was that like, did you just stick it under the table, or was there like plexiglass?
That was what did that come from? A coffee table?
Yeah, the shot under the table, we basically just put the iPhone on a tripod, or sometimes not even a tripod, we just set it
on the floor.
Yeah, and we had a coffee table that we just lifted the glass out of and worked from there.
That was a shot that we stole from We took inspiration from Breaking Bad for that shot. They do a lot of kind of omniscient camera angles in that show that are really, really interesting and give you unique perspectives of what's going on. And we wanted to kind of fudge that a little bit, pretend you're inside the table or underneath the meth lab.
So this movie is about getting like Nicolas Cage in the movie. So is there like a dream director that you'd love to see Cage work with, or just like a movie you'd love to see Cage in?
Caged 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a really good question.
It's crazy the amount of directors that he like has worked with already.
He's so
just
versatile.
Having such a huge career. At this point, I really like that he's choosing weirder stuff, like smaller projects maybe that, you know, people might not have heard of the director or the writer, but Nicolas Cage is in it, and it kind of will attract people to it. Like, honestly, like Mandy.
Or Pig is great too.
Pig, exactly, yeah. Like, I don't know that I would have like heard or been as interested in Mandy if there hadn't been the draw of like, oh yeah, but there's a crazy Nicolas Cage performance. And that feels like some of the best stuff is when there's a project you've never heard of, but Nicolas Cage is in it. So as far as who would be cool to see in a Nicolas Cage work with,
Yorgos Lanthimos could be pretty
that would be crazy, yeah. Jim Cummings, there's a director.
What movies has he done?
Thunder Road, Wolf of Snow Hollow. Yeah.
He was a big inspiration for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nicolas Cage's energy could be really well used in a Jim Cummings movie. I think he could direct him really well, yeah.
So there's a lot of movies that you show in there, like Goodfellas and Mandy and Pulp Fiction. Was there sort of a reasoning for the movies that you chose to show in Caged?
For that montage at the beginning of the movie where it kind of shows them, we call it the rotting montage, where they're just sitting on the couch rotting away, not doing their school projects and watching just a bunch of movies. We wanted to choose a few movies that had different tones, so it seemed like they were watching like quite a few things. There's like Texas Chainsaw, Goodfellas, and then Citizen Kane at the very end, just to kind of give a nice spectrum of stuff for that specific montage. And then like Mandy later on, we really wanted our two characters to have this notion that if they don't get Nicolas Cage's money, he's gonna demolish them, like he's gonna destroy them. And so we were wondering like, what's the best movie that has an example of Nicolas Cage just like going berserk. And we thought Mandy had a really good section in there to kind of freak the characters out a little bit.
You're in my shirt! You're in my shirt!
So there was like a lot of like red and bluish lighting in those scenes. What was the reasoning for that?
We wanted to we wanted to give it a vibe that they kind of have this, like, at least in their apartment that they're in, kind of a darker, more smoky atmosphere, you know, blinds drawn. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but we're watching a movie or something.
We took inspiration from Breaking Bad, where they have color coding for a lot of their characters. So you'll see Walter White's always wearing green, Hank is always wearing orange, Marie is purple. It's just a really easy way to get the audience to identify with a character and associate traits with them. We did the same thing with the Hater. His color was yellow.
And then Barry and James, Barry was blue mostly, and James was red a lot of the time.
What are we gonna do, man?
The only thing we can do. Make some mother money.
The montage scene, what was the process of shooting that?
Shooting the montage scene was a huge ordeal. Just because there's so many different locations and actions happening, we kind of had to have designated shoot days for almost every segment. We would bunch them together some days, but you know, we had stores to go to, we had the mall to film at. There was so many locations and so little time to film everything. It was pretty frantic.
We had 2 or 3 montage days where, because there's not even just one montage in this, there's like a couple, 2 or 3. And so we'd have montage days where it's like, okay, let's write down every location for all the bits that we have in mind for the montage, and then we're gonna try and hit, like, you know, we have from 12 to 5, so we're gonna try and hit the mall, we're gonna try and hit the park, we're gonna try and hit, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so yeah, those days were quite hectic. There were shoot days where we'd spend like 8 hours in an apartment where it's like we're filming their dialogue scenes, their rotting scenes. And honestly, I don't know if I prefer the montage or the one location days, because at least with the montage, you're kind of moving around and it's a little more hectic. But there is a break, you get to change locations a little bit. The days where you're just in an apartment all day, it gets to be a little, like, it gets really hot, it gets really exhausting to film in that one location. And especially in one location, it gets really hard to keep it visually interesting. Like if you're having multiple scenes take place where the 2 characters are sitting on the couch, it's like, how are we gonna shoot that so people aren't bored when it comes back to a couch scene? But when you're outside and you have a montage scene like that, it's a lot easier to kind of think of creative camera movements and shot angles and stuff, because the environment's constantly changing, so new ideas are kind of constantly coming.
So did anything go really wrong on this movie, or like last second that you had to like fix?
There was a time when we were editing. There was one, I think it was like 1 week to the day before the film was due, and we were editing like crazy, like 24/7.
We were both simultaneously editing different scenes.
Side by side.
Side by side, yeah. It was an intense like week and a half of like editing all day and then leaving and then coming back like early the next morning and then editing all day. And one of the editing processes, I was editing on Final Cut on my laptop, and Bradley was editing on Premiere on a different MacBook, and the Premiere timeline like fully crashed and we couldn't get it back at all.
I still don't fully understand how it happened, but the entire project file got deleted, and we had to start over from square one, and it was really, really discouraging. But
we had a couple scenes that I'd been editing on the MacBook that didn't get lost, but it was like a good like 5 days worth of editing on that computer that was gone. So that was very disappointing. We had to take a day to hang our heads and feel really bad about that, and then just came back the next day and had to start picking up the pieces again.
There was no choice but to keep powering through it. Yeah, so I'm glad the editing process is far behind us.
We had some equipment malfunctions on set. One of our microphones wasn't picking up almost anything one day. And we had done an audio check beforehand, but when we got it back, it was peaking. It was really bad. One of our Zoom recorders died, and none of the batteries we were putting in were working for it. So slight malfunctions like that. But honestly, I think you'd be hard pressed to make anything, to make any type of film that doesn't have at least some sort of small malfunction technically somewhere. So yeah, it's just kind of the
rolling with the punches.
Exactly.
So yeah, I worked on a movie and I was like the sound guy, and I accidentally flipped a button that turned like the audio to the internal mic out of the sound recorder. So I was like holding it up like this and my arms are getting sore, and then it wasn't actually recording anything.
Yeah, it's tragic, truly.
All that pain for nothing.
It's rough. Yeah.
There were times where we would go back in the editing room and be like, okay, we've got this many shots and this many corresponding audio clips, but there'd be one missing, like something forgot to get recorded, and now we don't have a matching audio for the take that we liked.
Yeah, it really sucks when you find a take you like, but the audio is messed up, and it's like, okay, do we go with a take we're not as like hot on, or do we like hit up the actors for some like light ADR? And we actually did do that. We actually had them re-record a fair few amount of lines. There were a handful of lines for each actor, but depending on what shot it was relatively easy to cover up some of the ADR.
Especially during the heist scene towards the end. I mean, James and Barry are both wearing masks, so
hard to hear through it.
Yeah, and we put on some like distortion, muffling effects over the clean ADR that we did to sell it as well.
I'll take the safe, you grab the till.
Yeah, specifically with Barry, with that monkey mask, we went into the shoot knowing that any audio that we record that day is not going to be usable. We didn't have lav mics. We only had a boom. So we didn't have anything that we could kind of get under the mask to kind of like get some nice sound. So pretty much any of his audio from that day where he was wearing the monkey mask was just completely scrapped, and then we redid it. But I mean, he's got a mask on, so
yeah, that's what I was going to
really
say.
tell.
When you have a mask on, you can get away with that more.
Right, and luckily Ash, our actor for Barry, he's a phenomenally talented actor, so he's moving and it lines up with the words he's saying, so it doesn't look like a guy just standing there and then like artificial voice kind of coming out. Like his movements matched what he was saying, so it really helped to add to the realism that these are actually the words he's saying.
He was good in the movie too. I liked his like vibe. He sort of went like, he had a lot of that, which I liked.
Ash is a very, what's the word? Personable guy. He's so much fun to watch on screen. He's like a professional voice actor as well. So he just nails his characters every time.
When we were writing this script, when we came up with the idea, we were actually kind of writing the characters of Barry and James with our two actors in mind that we cast. They were both totally down to do it, and when we were writing these slacker characters, like, not that our actors are like those characters, but we knew that they would be able to portray them really, really well. We had full confidence in them. And they had actually never interacted before we brought them together for Caged. And that was, it's a little bit of a dicey proposition if they don't have chemistry or they don't click together, but they got along great. They really nailed their characters' interactions with each other.
It seemed like they were friends already.
Yeah, well, and when we would cut or like have to set up a new shot, they would just go and hang out and talk about whatever the whole time. They got along really great.
Okay, so the final cut of our film is due 2 weeks from tomorrow.
And we're at square one.
What's on our ideas list? Anything workable?
There's gotta be something.
Some of these ideas are so bad, dude. Like, I should not be allowed to go near a keyboard. Like, what the is gumball vomit?
So the whole like gumball vomit and all those like bad ideas, has you ever had any like really bad idea and then someone else has tried to talk you out of it?
Many, many times.
Some bits in Caged even. Sometimes we'd write an idea and then realize like, oh, wait a minute, no, why are we doing this? We need to take this out or go a different direction. But yeah, all the time we have stupid ideas for things to film, and those ideas that they're talking about in the movie are genuinely ideas that we have come up with in the past, gumball vomit included, and then Pope Cop
Which one? Pope? What?
Pope Cop.
Cop.
Been dreaming of that one since I was a little boy.
Yeah. It couldn't be worse than Samurai Cop, though. I mean,
Oh man, it would blow Samurai Cop out of the water. We'll get Nick Cage to play the Pope.
Yeah, there we go. He's already played a priest in Face Off.
Does he?
Where he grabs like her butt. And
Yeah, and like starts screaming. Yeah.
Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Yeah, we've both got these giant lists on our phones just full of random movie ideas that we're hoping someday will turn into something. Yeah. But until then, it's just a big reservoir full of...
But even your dumbest idea, like, there can be a little nugget of potential in there. Like, there's no such thing as a bad idea. You can find a way to make any idea interesting or cool. So if you've got an idea, don't let someone talk you out of it.
So do you have any like projects coming up that you're working on?
Yeah,
that's a good question. Yeah, we've got a lot. We've got a lot down the road. We have a feature film script that we've kind of just got in the pipeline. I don't think we're gonna. What's that?
Oh, I just said that's exciting. That's
cool.
Yeah.
We're probably not gonna start filming it for a while until we feel cut out for it. But it's like a 45-page crime thriller that I think we're really happy with.
Yeah, and we've got some other ideas we've been throwing around too to kind of stay in the like comedy element a little bit. We have an idea about like a serial killer who's really bad at being a serial killer, and so he blames all of the murders on he makes up like a fake cryptid, like a Bigfoot guy who's killing all these people in this town, and then the town starts to buy it, and it becomes like a phenomenon. But it's just his lie that he made up to cover up his...
He's a terrible killer, but he's a good liar.
Yeah, and that's something we could lean into the comedy of it a little bit more. This really incompetent serial killer who kind of, again, I think it's really, me personally, I love to watch a movie where a situation kind of gets out of control. Like a character thinks they can handle everything, and then the situation becomes so much bigger than them, kind of like what happens in Cage. And so I think that's a theme that we want to keep exploring in some of the work we do. And so that cryptid serial killer idea is something that we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, I think you're right about how that pairs with Caged. The way that these guys are totally in over their heads and trying to scrape by without dealing with any of the consequences. I think it rings true to our personality types, at least, as procrastinators and the like.
And film students. Yeah. And I was saying, I've talked to Brad about this before, but some of the movies I like to see are movies about characters that are really good at something or really bad at something. Those are what I think make really interesting movies. And I think so far we've leaned into the characters that are just abysmal at whatever they're trying to do, and it kind of brings out a pretty natural comedy out of the situation.
You're young, Miss Campbell, and inexperienced. What you seem to have forgotten is that nobody knows we are here. At our disposal, we have the vital element of surprise.
I think that style of comedy appeals well to our artistic sensibilities, just because from the no budget filmmaking standpoint, I mean, are we not in over our heads?
Every time we try and make something, a little bit, yeah.
So
yeah, it's pretty relatable. Most people have been in that situation before. And
for the people watching this, where could they find this movie?
We've got Caged on YouTube. The director's cut is live with subtitles whenever you would like to view it. So yeah, please subscribe, because we'll have more short films coming down the road.
Our production company that we have that we made for Cage.
Is that on your shirt there?
Yeah.
Milkman Studio.
We have an Instagram account, and you can follow us on there and see any new projects that are going to come down the pipeline.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having us and giving us a chance to talk about our movie.